Welcome back to the Krown Cough Cave as we get ready to talk about some Bitcoin monthly action. I want to talk about the 4, maybe even 5 things that do signify, perhaps as soon as tonight's monthly closure, bless you in the background, that Bitcoin could have very well put in perhaps a macro low. At least statistically speaking, it would be relevant to really start to entertain the probability and possibility of that idea. Other than that, I want to once again give the spotlight to Bybit. They got their promotion going on, so for 0% on maker fees for derivative contract orders with, I believe, only my link in the description below. Of course, it's going to be valuable, or I think it's probably going to be valuable for more active traders. If you're not that person, probably not going to be. And also, you know, it's only for 30 days and there's restricted countries, obviously. What else? Yes, I would like to also humbly request that if you hate this content, please do consider liking and subscribing. And also, if you like it as well, that would be very, very nice. All right, let's jump right on into it. Let's waste no more time. And let's start off right on over here. I wouldn't say that this is the most important chart, but it's just an easy way to start off. And this is the monthly stochastic chart. So what are we going over in this particular setup? Well, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, working on number 7 times in Bitcoin's history where we've seen the monthly stochastic oscillator cross the upside. Of those times, 1, 2, 3 of the prior times were in this critical zone here, which I'll mark off with these 1, 2, 3 green vertical bars, which have marked, as we can see on the charts, pretty damn close to the macro low. In fact, in all prior cases, the macro low was actually already in some cases, you know, a little bit longer and a little bit closer than others. But price action after that was generally, well, sideways and up and to the right as well. So in this case, we can forecast 2 things. One, what would be the price that would need for Bitcoin to close above tonight in order to cross this one to the upside, and also play out another bounce off of this trendline regression, which would also be hidden bullish divergence on this. Not that I'm a humongous fan of it on stochastic, but it would be just above 18,000 bucks. So as long as Bitcoin closed today above 18,000 bucks, that will be in play. And as you can see, well, historically speaking, it's been pretty damn good. Out of the 5 prior times that we've seen this cross the upside, 4 of those have actually been just straight up after that. Only one of them, in fact, the most recent one, which was a bit of a different case here because the cross happened within, you know, above the 60 zone right here, which was the highest cross that we've ever seen. In fact, that was of course the bull trap that we did see in early of 2022, so almost about a year ago. Other than that, I also did a statistical analysis of specifically the 1, 2, 3 prior macro lows here and what the sort of initial move off those lows looked like over the course of the next like half year to a year, and found that the average move was about 253.5%. What I thought was very interesting about this is that the first 2 ones that we saw, that would be this one over here, or sorry, not the first 2 ones, but the 2 most recent ones that we've seen, which would be this one here in March of 2019 and over here in June of 2015, were actually both like incredibly close to each other on that first drive to the upside before the next major consolidation at about 238% for both of them. The first one on the first macro low over here was 284%. Again, very, very close, of course. And, you know, these moves did take time. And I should denote that in many of these cases, you know, things did test reasonably close to the prior lows. In fact, you know, you can see in this case over here, very obvious, right? And then a little bit less obvious, but definitely relevant in the 2019 to 2020 saga over here after the old Rona dump. So I did think that that was rather interesting. And again, the magical number for the end of this month is going to be 18,000 bucks. But that on its own probably wouldn't convince me, although it, you know, probably very, very likely implies a much greater bounce out of this region. We can now go over here to this chart, which is the monthly accumulation distribution indicator chart. And so what are we going over in this particular one? Well, anytime that we've seen a slope change in the extreme zones, that being the green over here or the red over here, those have correlated with macro shifts in directions. I think I have it charted out on this chart, maybe? No, probably this chart. Let me just see. Yeah, there we go. I just charted the ones from the downside to the upside. But as you can see, when we saw the actual slope change from these critical regions, that's when the low was essentially in. And in fact, you're probably going to say, but Krown, what about this one over here? Yeah, you're right. It should be right here. And guess what? That's literally on the fucking low. So fair enough. So ultimately, what does that essentially mean? Well, that essentially means that if we do see this particular one turn to the upside, which we've gotten our greatest reduction in the downside slope on this particular month of January, and turns it into an upside slope coming into February, which we'll see tomorrow, well, that would be another indication that, hey, probabilistically speaking, it's really time to be thinking of it. Like, I think it's very obvious now that it's a major low. We've been speaking about this for a long time. It's like a bigger deal when I was saying this in maybe November, late November, that is. But now it's like, okay, is this a macro low? I mean, we have several indications. If we go over here to this chart, I did also want to bring up one other thing with regards to this, and it is this. So what I've done here on this chart is I've taken measurements from when the indicator turned from green to red, and from that point to the next macro low. So I've done that all throughout the full history of Bitcoin here, and found that on average, the correction that follows from turning green to red was about 61.34%, which is really fucking interesting because from the time that the most recent one turned to where we're at to the current low, well, that was a 61.63% move. Pretty like bang on that. I mean, we do expect some variance in these measurements, yes, but it would say we're very likely closer to a major low than not, a macro low than not, and maybe this is even a macro low. Moving on to the next few things over here, I did want to bring up this. So a couple things on this chart. First would be the monthly jewel. So the monthly jewel is going to be turning, or likely to be turning, white. That'll be confirmed again later tonight upon monthly closure. And if it does, well, what happened the last few times when the monthly jewel turned white in this sort of region of the chart, of this pane? Well, I've marked them off with the green vertical bars again. What do you know? Some major macro lows. Yes, in some cases, things did, actually in both prior cases, price action did test reasonably close to the prior all-time low after that, and did take time, so going sideways as well. But hey, it was in there. And then also this would be an example similar to the monthly stochastic of hidden bullish divergence, as there would be low, 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 but the higher lows are on the charts obviously over here. Take that one step further on this chart, the monthly RSI, same thing, hidden bullish divergence is starting to populate, is populated there. It will confirm as long as Bitcoin basically closes anywhere above $21,500. So that'd be kind of the magical number for maintaining that. And by the way, all of the prior cycles have bottomed on hidden bullish divergence, which I've marked off with these green. It's actually the same. It's almost the same green vertical bars, in fact, just like a couple months earlier for this one in 2019. And yeah, it'd be this one for 2023. So same one there, and basically the same one in 2015 as well. So just thought that was rather interesting, perhaps worth your consideration. And then we can move into the last chart. This one has nothing to do with the higher term timeframes, just the lower term timeframes here, the 4-hour time frame. Just wanted to show very quickly and cleanly the 4-hour HPDR ranges. I do suspect that if Bitcoin were to break below the current blue 50% of historical returns range lows, then we would be witnessing a short-term pullback heading into tomorrow's event. Very, very likely somewhere down around upper 21, somewhere between about 21.7 to 21.9. By the same token, until Bitcoin actually closed below this region, we're seeing kind of the same range, honestly. Yeah, the range did get expanded a little bit to the upside, which has made things a bit tricky in the short term. But, the last day's worth of price action, it's always a bad idea to try to entertain that you can understand the motivations of basically other people. But I would imagine that heading into Wednesday's event, people are just de-risking. If you basically put this on a line chart, Bitcoin's been in a lot, been basically flat since the 21st of January. So, going on 10 days now, waiting for this event basically. So I suspect that, we probably don't see a big move until tomorrow. A crazy statement, right? But the way that the monthlies are kind of basing off of over here would basically put into motion for myself that saying, hey, long term, if things do come down, it's probably worth considering that's likely going to be a higher low. And yeah, I think that's probably a good place for me to be leaving it off. Obviously, if Bitcoin busts on through back up above 23.8, then 25,000 bucks is on the menu for like the next, short-term area of interest. But until then, the range holds as it has been. And the question is, where do we resolve this current range? And I think that is going to be answered by the market tomorrow. And the big news is on the monthlies over here. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. As always, I want to be wishing you the best of the best. Take care. Much love. Tap the supply and tap the old and tap the old buttons there as well. All right. Much love and see you soon.